Today on the newscast, the Gathering Storm coalition continues to grow as Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea draw closer together, and Russia and the Iranian regime build a drone dynasty. Get all the breaking details next. Hey folks, Eric Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. We've called it the Gathering Storm Coalition. Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea increasingly drawing closer over the past several months and building an anti-Western coalition. It's quite literally, folks, a gathering storm against the West and, by extension, Israel. And when it comes to Israel, no more clear example of that than the growing relationship, a formal military and defense alliance between Russia and the Iranian regime. We've got new developments there that I'll break down in a minute. Before I do, hey, if you've never joined us here before on the Watchman News channel, or you are a regular viewer, be sure to subscribe. Click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted right here on our YouTube channel. Folks, so much is going on in the world's most volatile and chaotic region, the Middle East, and beyond, whether it's a communist regime in Beijing, North Korea, of course, Russia, that you don't want to miss a single daily video right here on the Watchman YouTube channel. So be sure to click that subscribe button for such a time as this. Let's break it down. Russia and Iran, new developments. Now, we've been sharing here frequently on the newscast over the past several months how the Iranian regime sees itself as a drone superpower. The Iranians are literally mass producing these Shahed drones off the assembly lines in Iran. And not only is the Iranian military and Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps both using these drones to their own ends, they are equipping their proxies throughout the region. In particular, of course, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza, Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and those various Iran-backed Shia militias in Syria and Iraq. Hey, when it comes to those Shia militias, we've seen the damage they have done against U.S. bases in both Syria and Iraq. Iranian-backed attacks against U.S. forces in those two countries, at least 78 of them since January 2021, and many of those attacks involve, yes, these Iranian-made drones, but Iran and its proxies, they're not the extent of the drone dynasty that Iran is forming. No, folks. As we have reported here in the newscast, Iran is supplying Russia, the Russian war machine in Ukraine, with a healthy dose of these drones as well. U.S. officials said yesterday that since August 2022, Iran has supplied Russia with at least 400 of these unmanned aerial vehicles. And these are drones which are packed with explosives, and they are programmed to fly into a target and then detonate, of course. And the main targets in Ukraine that Russia has used these Iranian-made drones against are civilian targets, civilian neighborhoods, and infrastructure. And Russia has used them to deadly effect. But guess what? They are now reportedly almost out of these Iranian-made drones, and they want to replenish their drone stockpiles. So they are turning back to their good friends in Tehran, and they are asking for more. And surprise, surprise, the Iranian regime is all too happy to comply with that Russian request, to the point, and we reported this a little while ago here in the newscast, Iran is now reportedly considering building a drone factory in Russia and mass producing thousands of these attack drones. And obviously a whole lot easier for Russia's war machine to get their hands on these drones if they are produced right there on Russian soil. So again, Iran sees drone warfare as the tip of the spear for its jihad against Israel and its future plans there. And also Iran is saying, wait a minute, we are becoming a very valuable drone exporter to the likes of Russia and others around the world and sharing this technology. So folks, Iran is only going to ramp up its drone production and the exporting of these drones to rogue regimes throughout the world. So that's one leg of the Gathering Storm Coalition, the Russia-Iran relationship growing, folks, by leaps and bounds every day, to the point, and I wouldn't have said this 2 years ago, but ever since Russia invaded Ukraine back in February 2022, I have to say Russia is almost somewhat reliant on Iran in a military sense, because Russia clearly is really relying on these drones as a major part of its war strategy in Ukraine. And not only that, Iran has supplied Russia with tank rounds and artillery as well. The big question, we've posed this many times here in the newscast, okay, assuming obviously this is a quid pro quo relationship between Russia and Iran, what does Iran get in return? We know the regime in Tehran has asked for attack helicopters, that Russia has agreed also to supply Iran with fighter jets. And look, the Iranian Air Force, folks, is very, very outdated. They have fighter jets from the 1970s that they're still using, so Russia will update that. And perhaps nuclear know-how. Would Russia help Iran with its nuclear program? That's another big question, because Iran is certainly helping Russia and standing with Russia on the international stage as well, openly. But the big point here, and this brings us back to Israel being profoundly affected by this Gathering Storm coalition. And by the way, Iran and China also have a long-term alliance. I believe it's a 25-year alliance that they have, or a partnership that they signed, where the Iranian regime will equip China or send cheap oil and gas to China, and China will supply Iran with military know-how that it no doubt would eventually use against Israel. And to that end, you have to think that Iran is saying to Russia, hey, wait a minute, we're your friend and ally, and as is Hezbollah, as is the Assad regime in Syria, and yet you, Russia, are letting the Zionist entity, Israel, as Iran would call it, continue to strike us and embarrass us and weaken us in Syria with hundreds upon hundreds of airstrikes over the past few years. And folks, I would not be surprised if Iran is nudging Russia on a regular basis, because these strikes are happening, these Israeli strikes, under the noses of thousands of Russian soldiers in Syria. As we've talked about here on previous newscasts, Israel and Russia have an understanding. They call it the deconfliction mechanism, where Russia stands aside essentially, and Israel operates freely and strikes Iran there. Israel needs that freedom of movement in Syria, because an Iranian military presence, precision-guided missiles, and all the rest on Israel's northern border in Syria is an absolute red line for the Jewish state. Russia has stood aside until now. Does a day come where Russia says, Israel no more, no-fly zone? As Russia and Iran draw closer, folks, I do not believe that that is outside the realm of possibility. And if and when that happens, Israel has some major decisions to make. That prophetically, certainly this betrayal is going to happen, where Russia, I believe, turns against Israel, aligns itself with Iran as part of that Gog-Magog invasion, as laid out in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. You might say, Gog, Magog, what are you talking about? Funny name, I know, but I strongly encourage you folks, go and read the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39, about this latter days confederation that comes against Israel, led by Russia and Persia. That's modern-day Iran. They don't get very far. The God of Israel has something very mighty to say about that. I won't spoil it for you. Go and read it yourself, Ezekiel 38 and 39. But needless to say, this Gathering Storm coalition certainly lines up with prophecy as well, and how the chess pieces are moving there. North Korea, another member of this Gathering Storm coalition that I mentioned, also supplying Russia with artillery. And we had just yesterday the foreign minister of Japan saying that China and Russia are drawing closer, and it is a cause for major concern. Interesting comments as well from French President Emmanuel Macron, who said over the weekend that Russia is becoming, in his view, a vassal state of China and the junior partner in that relationship. Needless to say, Russian officials did not like those comments very much. But folks, there's no denying that China is becoming a global powerhouse. They are expanding their influence and reach throughout the world. Russia has taken lumps in Ukraine, certainly, and China is in the midst of the largest military and nuclear buildup that we have seen since World War II. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, the Gathering Storm. Folks, we're keeping a very close eye on all of it. One last point, programming note. Before we go, tomorrow, our Watchmen Newscast live stream. That's tomorrow, Wednesday, May 17th, between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us live and bring your questions for our Q&A session. It's going to be good. We're going to talk about the prophetic implications of all of this. And if you want to support the channel, by popular demand, we just opened the Watchmen shop. Go to shop.tbn.org/Watchmen to check out all the new Watchmen merch and gear that we've got there. It's a way you can support what we're doing here. And hey, support the channel and help us to keep going strong here on YouTube, on TV, and beyond. We appreciate your support. Until tomorrow's live stream, thanks for joining us today. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchmen Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.